Hi, I'm Josh Cadillac, and welcome to my podcast, Know Your Shit. I've been blessed to see great success, as well as seeing the bottom up close and personal in 2008. And if there's one lesson I've learned, is that if you want to have success and differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, you need to know your shit. As a successful real estate and crypto investor and an educator, it drives me insane that people do not immerse themselves in their craft. Everyone is so busy advertising and testing new sales techniques, they forget the most important thing, the product. Here I want to talk to the folks that got this right, the most successful people in the world in every industry. Bring them to you and find out what they learned in their business that made it great. When you listen to my podcast, you will know for sure that the topics and experts we have on have one thing in common. They know their shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we strive to learn how to stop doing deals and start closing for life. We have a great show for you today. Without further ado, let me introduce to you a great guy, super interesting person, Mr. Sam Sells. Sam, what do you got, buddy?
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
So, Sam, why don't you tell everybody here, what is it you do?
Yeah, so we're just a little bit different. So there's a lot of real estate investors out there, a lot of real estate investing companies, some fantastic, some not so fantastic. But what's really different about us is that we're focused on the impact of how we invest. And so we do really heavy value add apartment complexes in areas that need a lot of support and work. And what that means, financially speaking, is we're buying really distressed assets that are way below market value. We're coming in and doing the heavy lifting. And like when you flip a house and you buy it for 25 grand, you put 20 grand in it and you sell it for 250, the return is great. But you got to understand that it's a little bit riskier going in at the beginning.
Sure. No, it's tough. Those type of neighborhoods, it's tough to get work done a lot of times in them and get the keep the project moving forward. It's we've done some work in that sort of space. So that's good stuff. What got you started doing that, Sam?
Yeah, so I spent the better part of 10 or 12 years traveling the globe, working with foreign militaries, foreign governments, teaching them how to do healthcare. Or improving their healthcare systems. And a lot of it came down to the right policies, the right systems, but Americans get it wrong all the time because they want to come in, they spend all this money, they buy all this really cool, snazzy, $100,000 chair that goes in the bed, or bed for the hospital that you got to plug into all these systems. But what they don't paying attention to is like that hospital only has power 3 hours a day.
Yep.
So you just spent 100 grand on this bed, and as soon as you guys leave, because I've seen this happen a bunch of times, they take this thing, put it in a closet somewhere, and go back to what they were doing before. So, I learned that policymakers get it wrong all the time, and charities a lot of times get it absolutely right, but it's not sustainable and it's not growable.
Right.
And so it just kept in my mind as like, how do we align incentives? And it's got to be private citizens that make a difference. And so what better motivating factor than to find a way to make money helping other people? And so we're focused on this idea of clean money. You're investing in a way that has a lasting impact on society. Just like if you're buying, solar power or whatever, you're doing it in a way that has a more lasting effect. And maybe you just want to disconnect from the grid or something else. But for us, it's getting away from relying on the government to fix all these dumps and doing it in a way
it sounds to me like you're saying, Sam, because it sounds like a crazy idea that the government doesn't always get it right. Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in DC, and
I'm sorry. I apologize right now.
I found that just a lot of really incredibly smart, well-meaning people were there. I was surprised because I had grown up in the South and we always spoke bad about DC, and I still speak bad about DC, but I found so many
for different reasons.
for different reasons, right? I found so many smart, intellectually fantastic people there. But at the end of the day, it's like, they're limited, one, and two, when you're 10,000 miles away from where the policy actually hits, where the rubber hits the road, you're going to get it wrong.
No, absolutely. Any big company has the exact same problem. The company gets big enough, they start to break down at the edges because you can't dictate policy from one central location for what they need. The boots on the ground actually know much better what's needed. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I remember reading something about all the damage that was done by all the free food we used to ship to all these countries.
Yeah.
Because the domestic production then has been completely knocked out of the business. And now maybe it takes years for them to spool back up again when you take the free food away. So you're destroying the actual economy of the place that you're trying to help. And so
Yeah.
it's almost a please stop helping us so much, you're killing us
Right.
kind of concept. And I think one of the best was that, and I don't know if you've ever read him, because it's interesting because the guy wasn't a very educated guy, super wealthy guy, but not super educated, was Andrew Carnegie.
Mhm.
And he was a big philanthropist, and he talked about how doing charity well was more important than doing charity. Like, it's
Yeah.
more important how we use this money than the fact that we're accumulating this money to go do something. It's not enough to just go try to help. You have to figure out how to do it well. And so one of his big contributions was libraries. He wanted to take and have libraries so that people could go try to help themselves out, have access at least. Because back then, no internet. The best thing you could have was at least access to what stuff was, and also education so people could learn to read. And I mean, that's,
Yeah.
figuring how to do that charity well it sounds like that's exactly the itch that you guys are trying to scratch here. And I applaud that because it's good stuff.
Yeah. And that's it. And doing it well. So like, I get this flack, like, you guys evict people. I'm like, heck yeah, we evict people. You know why? Because if somebody can't be safe and keep my residents safe, they cannot live in our apartment community, right? The kids in that apartment community need to feel safe. Period. There are a ridiculous amount of, I say ridiculous in a good way, ridiculous amount of charities and other groups out there who are willing to help subsidize, people's housing so that they can make it through a rough spot in life. Most of those charities are religious.
Mhm.
God bless religious freedom in this country so that, a mosque and, everyone else can sit there and provide for their folks. There are people who will refuse any help from anyone, from the government, from anyone. And so we evict them. Like, if we cannot help you, then you cannot live here in this community.
Sure.
And so those people got to go. They have to go. It has to be safe, it has to be clean.
Yeah, you're taking a spot away from somebody else who's willing to do what needs to be done in order to take and be here. And I agree. Look, you can't help people that don't want to be helped.
That's it. You can't.
I've had to learn that lesson, a lot of different times in my life, because I've tried. I do give, but
Yeah.
I've tried to be very generous in my life, but I try to do it at home. I've actually had people come live with me that were down on their luck and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you see, unfortunately, that you can only lead the horse to water. You can't make him drink. And so, how do you do? God, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And if they need to, they can come back when they're ready. You know what I mean? They can come back when they're ready.
Rock bottom is a real thing for people. And some people need, and that's one of the things I talk to people about a lot, is the idea that we don't really change until we get to a place that kind of almost forces us to. And that growth, though, is some of the best parts of life, is the growth process that we get from going through the hard times, the hard stuff. And so sometimes we almost get in the way of that. I was talking especially about when it comes to parenting, like getting in the way of the kid having to go through the hard thing. Well, that hard thing might be the exact lesson they need in order to survive. Well, because guess what? Life is not a sweet and wonderful place all the time. Life has a way of throwing these little hand grenades at you. And if you're not ready for them, you don't know what to do. So I don't know. I think that balancing that, and I don't want to take this too far down that road, Sam. In general, to me, I've always struggled with this idea, and I think that we should, as a society, struggle with this more, the idea of how to do charity and how to help people in a real meaningful way that doesn't dehumanize them, and at the same time doesn't preclude them or cut off them learning the tough lessons they need to become the more fully to fully find what kind of people they're capable of being. Because I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what our journey, all of us kind of is, figuring it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what got you started doing this, Sam? Where'd it come from?
Yeah. So, I was in the Air Force at the time. I was coming to the end of my, career. I was responsible for building this 500-bed facility overseas, and in this process, my mind, I'm taking these long flights back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I reached out to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I love global health. I love policy. I love all that stuff, but we got to do it right on the ground, and we got to figure it out. And I want to do something where we can retire. So how do we do this? And so we naturally came to real estate because we have been flipping homes independently. He had been, and I had been for like 15 years. And we said, well, let's do real estate, but let's try multifamily. And we looked at multifamily. It seemed so expensive. I didn't have a mentor then. I was so busy. I was living in Alaska. I didn't know where to look. And so we started with mobile home parks, and we bought 2 mobile home parks. I took 30 grand that I had total. He took his 80 grand he had total for his retirement. He's 65 years old at the time. And we invested that. We bought 2 mobile home parks, and within 6 months, we were netting over $12,000 a month between the two of them.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. And it was like winner, chicken dinner. We can make money doing this. And my dad had gone out and he had renovated homes, and he had, just this neglected dump of a mobile home park. And we've taken tractors to haul off trash. And we've done all kinds of stuff to clean these places up. And then we charge, a regular, amount, and, people pay because they're happy to live someplace that's safe and clean, and they get treated like humans, like you said before, because we knew everybody's name, we knew their lives, we knew what was going on. And it was just remarkable. And then once we saw that, we just got going. We just kicked it into gear, bought 8 more that year.
Love it, man. Love it, man. I mean, when it works, it's so nice to see when it actually works. And multifamily, man, I cannot tell you how much I love multifamily. Multifamily is one of the best products out there. It really is. And especially for the market that we're in today, I think multifamily is going to outperform just about everything else that's out there.
I agree. It has to. I mean, the demand hasn't decreased, right? If housing prices are shooting up, they're doing the build to rent thing because, you used to be able to buy a house for 100 grand. When I graduated high school and we were looking at places to live, I was like, oh my goodness, 150 grand. That's so expensive. 150. And now these guys coming out, it's like the cheapest thing they could find is 300 or 400 grand. I mean, that's the cheapest.
Look, I mean, it's one of those unintended consequences thing. I'm a general contractor in addition to doing what I do here. And every couple of years, I get a brand new energy efficiency guide from the state. Well, every time I get that new energy efficiency guide, there's a good reason. I mean, we want to make houses greener. I get it, but it makes the house more expensive to build. So that price point just moved up a little bit further. So everything below that price point, that entire subset of the market is a fixed supply now, because as a developer, I can no longer supplement the supply. So that while there's tremendous demand for those homes, price below that price point, I can't do anything to add to it. So you have to either hope for the stuff that the bank took back, or that people want to sell it, because those are the only sources of that type of asset.
So it's the same thing in multifamily, right? If you want to build multifamily, you're at like $300 a door.
Yep.
And $300.
300,000 a door.
300,000 a door, yeah. $300 a door. I feel like that's
pretty great, man. What are you doing, and how can I get some?
Yeah. So, and they're like, well, we need to build more affordable housing. I'm like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And you can't blame general contractors. You have to blame the policies, and most of those policies are there for a good reason, right? Safety or something else. But
yeah, absolutely. No, you were in the military, and I've seen it a billion different times, right? You look at something, you're like, why the hell would anybody have it be this way? And my father used to say, it is that way because somebody screwed up somewhere before, and they made a rule so that would never happen again. Yeah. And so that's why you have to take and get 16 copies of the PST 13B form to these 13 different departments, because that one guy screwed up. And so it's a thing. Policy is, it's a result of the massive bureaucracy. And again, that thing we talked about of trying to make rules 10,000 miles away from the actual problem.
Yeah.
You see a lot of this. So
And
what
so
do you
now,
like?
oh, go ahead.
So-
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish talking.
Yeah. So to me, the only answer to, workforce housing or affordable housing is really taking these places that have been just so neglected, and they're in every city, and clean them up, but do it with the city's support and everything else. But really, if policymakers want to make a big difference, they need to say, it needs to be some kind of subsidy or something, whether it's tax benefits or others, and not going all the way down the LIHTC route of low-income housing tax credit. But there's got to be other ways for them to support the activities, because in the end, it's just expensive.
Well, I mean, the opportunity zones seem to help some. I know that I've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of product that was really right, but once again, it's still very capital intensive at that point.
Right.
For the folks that don't have a ton of, I mean, you're getting the benefit on the back end and not having these capital gains events and all these tax consequences, but you had to have the money initially to come in and then do all the work, and to take and do the work is incredibly capital intensive. Construction work, the renovation work. I mean, yeah, it's cheaper than building it new, but it's still, you got to do a kitchen, you got to do floors, you got to do windows, that stuff eats your lunch. And so, even though you can borrow, 70% LTV to buy the property, you have to pay for the construction work pretty much dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
And that has to come out of someplace. So yeah, providing the capital, even if it's in the form of loans or something like that can be repaid, would be a huge tool. But once again, the gentleman that I was just talking to just before speaking with you was talking about access to capital and how important access to capital really is in allowing this whole thing to grow and go. So yeah,
it's key.
it really is. So Sam, what do you like best about what you do, man?
This is going to sound a little bit cheesy, but
cheese us up, buddy.
Yeah, I like the way I feel.
I love that.
I love the way that so Wednesday I'm going to be driving out to an apartment complex we bought, just treated so shabbily, tags on it. The day we closed, SWAT team was there. That was 3 months ago. Now the outside's halfway painted. There's all this work getting happen. Every time we go there, residents are like, "Hey, you're one of the owners." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Sam. Nice to meet you." And they're like, "Thank you so much for doing what you guys have done here." And I've had to have it so many times, and it's just like, yeah, we're doing this the right way. So we talk about life fulfillment, and yeah, am I making money? Yeah, great. Yeah. Great, but that's not nearly as fulfilling. It's just the difference that we see and can feel. It's palpable now. And you can go there, you can feel the difference.
You go to work and you do a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to give you one that I think you're really going to like. As a guy that goes in and takes these buildings and these properties that have been beat up there, and you may have heard of it before, but there is a poem, and I'm not a big poetry guy, but there's a poem by a guy named Joyce Kilmer called "The House with Nobody in It." I think if you read that, you will absolutely love it, because it really talks about the life cycle of a home, if you will, and what it's like for a home when it's all beat up and beat down. And I think you'll really, really enjoy that.
I'll look that up.
One of my dad's actual favorites he told me about, and I looked it up. He couldn't remember it. He just remembered little parts of it. I found it for him years later. Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, Sam, what do you think makes you good at this?
I grew up poor, went through the school of hard knocks over and over and over again,
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have a different perception. So when we were kids, like I remember living in a house, no running water, taking for a little while, we lived in a little camper, and we took our baths in a horse trough, no kidding, like 6 or 8 months. And I think, we just really enjoyed our childhood. So being poor didn't matter until we went to school and somebody said, "Ooh, you're poor. Ha ha ha, that's funny." I'm like, "Why is that funny?" And so I think, that we understand where these people are at to a certain degree, and so we know that if somebody would have came and cared, we gladly would have paid for the value that that they provided, right?
Sure.
And it's not astronomical, but it's like, okay, so we're going to put in a washer dryer. It's going to cost us $3,000 to put a washer dryer in this unit, and we're going to charge the resident $75 more a month. And you think, oh, you just upped her rents. Well, think about what happened. She was spending $150 a month down at the laundromat and spending 6 hours a month or a week at the laundromat.
Stuff
Okay.
there, traveling there, coming back, all that. We've just significantly improved her life.
We've just significantly improved their life. And now she's spending half as much money. So she has an extra $75 a month in her pocket and 6 or 7 hours more of time to do whatever it is she wants to do. Educate, learn, grow, start her own second business, whatever. And so,
Absolutely.
People who are haters, who just want to hate and say no about everything, that they do not see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is their lives are really improving from the physical set, and now they can improve their lives legitimately through whatever avenues they want to go through.
Yeah, no, there's definitely this sense that if you make any kind of a profit, there's something morally evil about a profit. But the thing that's required is mutual consent. You're providing something that people, by their own free will, are choosing to pay you for. And so, I struggle understanding that mindset, because basically they're saying, hey, look, no, this person that wants to rent from you shouldn't rent from you, and you shouldn't rent to them. We should decide sort of whether or not this is morally okay to do. And
Yeah.
I don't get that mindset. Like, how about, rather than take and waste your time with all these machinations, you go out there and do something to actually help the world by getting a job, or taking and doing some of this actual work that actually helps people, and get out of the freaking think tank.
Yeah.
But
That's it. And so we've been there. I have been in the poorest countries in the world. Okay. You want to see poor, go to Afghanistan. You want to see poor, go to sub-Saharan Africa. You want to see poor parts of Asia, or, you see the 10 cities, you see the cities built out of mud huts, and these things. And you're like, this is poor, when you can spend $100 on somebody and that changes their entire life. That pays for all their education and everything else, right? When doctors make $800 a month as their salaries, right? So it's dramatic, right? I've been in those places. We're not like that in America. Capitalism has made all the difference. Look at Vietnam. They let capitalism in, after the Vietnam War. And capitalism has changed their country. So we can do this within a capitalistic paradigm.
Of course.
And to me, it's the only way that we're ever going to resolve these issues, is through that capitalistic paradigm, with policy supporting it.
Sure. When government's not fighting you every step of the way,
Right.
they're recognizing that what you're doing is a good thing. That, what the worst part of it is, they're trying to do it, and they're spending way more money trying to fix the very problem, that with some simple incentives to help get around the bureaucracy that they've created, it would make life so much easier for us to do it. It's a crazy thing. I mean, two things. One, I'll tell you this: a book recommendation, great one if you've never read it. It's a book called "Running for My Life." And it's a story about one of the Sudanese lost boys, who wound up getting adopted by an American family and wound up becoming a runner in the Olympics for the United States of America.
Oh yeah.
And this book, I'm telling you, like the face tingles you get when it's just like his experience. The kid had never seen a pane of glass in his life, and then all the way getting on the 747 and flying from his country all the way to the US to meet his family and stuff like that. And his sheer joy and appreciation for what he has. And then you see the people that just take for granted what we have here. I mean, I got the experience. I took somebody from El Salvador with me.
Yeah.
And we went to Las Vegas, and just eyes the size of dinner plates, like, oh my, your country, so much opportunity. Like, oh wow, this is nuts. And the fact that we've lost that, and we let that get away from the youth here, that they don't appreciate, they don't love and like what we have, and they think it's a bad thing, and they've been guilted about it. Yeah, there's people that have been misused it, but people misuse everything.
Yeah.
we need to take and appreciate the thing we have and figure out how to take and use it to solve the problems we have. So I really, Sam, I really commend you for what you're doing, man. Really do.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Josh. And you're so right. You're so right.
What do you think gives you that edge in what you do? What do you think creates that edge for you?
I think the edge comes because I work with two other members of my family, or three other members of my family. So my dad's in construction for 30 years. He leads our construction company, which we built because, we just needed to save cost and we needed to control the timeline. So we need to control the projects a lot more. And he produces 3 units. I mean, he's done over 230 units, rehabs in the past year and a half. So he's churning, right?
Yeah.
And then you have my other brother who I convinced to leave special operations as a human intelligence guy to lead our property management company, because no property management company we talked to would do the work that we wanted them to do, because you're coming in at a 60% occupied place. There's no money in it for the property management company, right? And so, but now, he's got relationships with all the, Presbyterian. I mean, I've got a whole list of them today, just, processing checks from all these different, charities and organizations and housing authorities and so forth. But he's the one that's on the ground who does the work. And so for me, I interact with him daily.
Yeah.
And with my construction guy daily. So I know what's going on the ground. And if I don't, I talk to them. Right. Yeah. And it's not me pushing down my ideas on them. It's like, hey, this is what I was thinking. What do you guys think? And they're like, no, Sam, that's terrible. Okay.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
You're doing exactly what you said. You're going with the person that's boots in the ground. You're dealing with this. I think we could do this. No, you don't think so? Well, you're the one that deals with it. So yeah, it's great having those.
And so that because we're vertically integrated like that, it's funny, when we were dealing with a lot of small timers, they were like, oh, don't be vertically integrated, you can hire third parties. And then when we started working with the institutional partners, multi-billion-dollar companies, they said, oh, you're vertically integrated. Great. That's what we look for. Like,
yeah. Oh, more control. That's what matters.
Reduce cost.
Good stuff. I love the fact that you're working with the charities. Americans are very generous people. We give away a lot of money, and putting that money to good use is a very good thing. So good stuff, man. What are the most important things you've learned in the process of doing what you do, though, Sam?
I've learned that people are incredibly good most of the time. I learned that there are some really crappy people in commercial real estate.
Yep. Yep.
Sometimes properties are distressed because people are just over their heads and they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or they ran out of capital and they just squandered the monies coming to them, or they're really not good people. And when we're closing on a deal with somebody who's just really not a good person, it gets the deal gets wonky and it becomes very difficult to close.
Yep, they want stuff after the fact. They come for the souls of your children. I know the type.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Like, look, man, this place is a dump. You should be happy we're buying it. You're still making X million dollars.
Yeah, the slumlord landlord type. I know the type.
Yeah,
it's a bad thing, but you're right. This is the thing, and I mean, people use those as examples of like everybody in business is like that. It's not everybody. It's some people. Some people suck. That's just all there is to it.
They do. Some people just do. And we're happy to buy their properties from them.
Well, and the other category that I don't think you hit on, that's one that I've seen, is people have just gotten worn down. So like a neighborhood changes on them and they don't have the will to take and do because it is a willful act to go in there and kind of create the personality and the culture of the property that you have, and have the security in place and everything necessary to maintain that. Sort of that stabilization process is not just a capital one. It's definitely a gray matter and a will that's needed, a life force. It's going to take life force from you to sort of make that happen.
We call it governance for us. And so we have to focus a lot on the governance, and to change that culture, you have to change the governance of the property and enforce rules, which is difficult.
Initially, especially.
Right? Yeah, we had, we bought a property, and within a week, one of the leasing managers, and we thought, this lady seems to have some good, stuff, but she got really angry with her boyfriend or whatever, and for some reason they were both drunk, and she stripped down naked and was out in the street yelling and screaming at him. This lady, right, and this right at the very entrance of the property, so people are coming in, and here's this couple and nothing having a fight in the parking lot, and it's like,
this is our alternative theater production of
yeah,
some sort of art project.
I'm so sorry you saw that. You cannot live here anymore.
I'm so sorry I saw that.
Yeah.
I feel even worse for you.
Right.
There's no one seeing that.
It's not okay. Not okay, right? And so that governance, you have to employ that. You have to, no more. You can't do drug deals here.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, someplace else.
Yeah.
No, it's a thing, and it's hard, and it's, you have to have the mojo in you to do it. And I see that a lot with, a lot of buildings that get run down as the owners get older. They just don't have that. So let me ask you this, Sam, what makes you passionate about what you do? I can tell you're passionate about it. What makes that the case for you?
I think because I was there, and I know life can be better.
Yeah.
And the more successful I become, the more I want to do it. The more I want to make a difference and change.
Yeah. The story gets better and better from where you were to where you are, right?
Right.
Write new chapters every single day. I think that's one of the best gifts that life gives us, is a new page every day to take and create what's going to be the history of our lives.
Yeah,
we write it every single day.
That's it.
So what are you most proud of in business and in life, for that matter?
Life, been married 21 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We got 3 kids. My wife and I, we've lived in probably, 27 or 28 different houses in those 21 years, just being in the military and constantly moving. Plus we were flipping homes. So we live in a place for a year and then flip it. I've got so many addresses on my address trees. When I was going through my top secret clearance, sorry to ramble on. I was just,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, just a bear to say, well, I lived here and then here and then here and then here. Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm most proud of, I think now, is that we created a business that is getting better and better every day. We've been around for coming up on 4 years now, and so we've made it through the most difficult times and challenges. And I think I finally decided to take myself into the limelight a little bit and start sharing the message that you can make money helping other people, because I was just keeping it quiet because I don't like being in the limelight. I don't like being on camera. And I've always wanted to say, oh, look at that person right there. They're the one that you should go interview, cameraman, Yeah. And so now by sharing that message, we can help others become part of the revolution, right?
Sam, I can't agree with you more, man. I went through the exact same thing myself. I was always, look, know me by what I do. I don't want publicity. If you see, I prefer somebody to see what I'm doing and say, wow, you're doing a good thing, than for me to say, hey, check out what I'm doing over here.
Yeah.
And I've kind of had to make peace with that myself, because I know that what we're doing here is a good, unusually good thing that we do here.
Yeah.
And recognizing that I may be actually hurting people if I don't let them see it and have access to it to participate, because they would if they only knew that it existed. So, it was making peace with that, because, know me by my actions kind of was always, I don't know, rolling around back there someplace. So let me ask you this, though. What one piece of advice would you give our listeners if you wanted to give them, a word of wisdom, something you picked up through this whole journey? Like, what one thing would you say, what this matters?
Make your investing matter. All right. So for us, it's all about the property or making changes in those people's lives. So you invest with us, your money matters, right? If you're listening to somebody who's teaching you how to do something better, invest in yourself so that you can become better, right? And invest in a way that matters. When you throw money into the stock market, you have no idea where that money's going, and it makes no difference to the people that you gave that money to, right? In fact, a stockbroker probably just used that money to buy a new Ferrari because they got tired of driving Lamborghinis. You get used to that stuff, I guess.
It is hard to just drive Lamborghinis when Ferraris are out there. It's a thing,
It's a thing, right?
I talk to the therapist about it all the time. I hear that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I guess I just drive a Toyota. I almost always have. So it's like, what are you going to do with your money and your time? Do something that makes a difference, right? Make your investment matter.
All right. I like that. So Sam, seems like you got a lot going on, bud. And it's amazing to me because whenever I ask this question, people always have something that they have in the drawing board. So what's next for you? What's the next project, the next big thing that you're working on?
Yeah, we have a 154 units, a little bit smaller for us, but it's an apartment complex in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Nice area.
Yeah, nice area, but this one's just on the edge of where things haven't been done very well in the past. And so we went and talked to the city councilman. He said, we love that you guys are going to buy this property. We're spending $3 million on this street. We know that there's an issue there. It's got to get fixed. And it's my number one priority while in office to fix that street. And so we're like, beautiful, perfect. So we're buying this thing below market. Over the next 5, 7, 10 years, this whole place is going to get changed. The city's dumping a bunch of money. They know where there's a problem place that's bringing in drugs and everything. They're attacking that place and getting it shut down. Once that place is removed, the influx of a lot of this crime into the area will get resolved. And so it's like, this is exactly what we do, the difference that we make. This is perfect. And so that we're going to start sharing that offering here in a couple of weeks as a 506C offering. That's why I can talk about it here, but love
Beautiful. Beautiful. Raising capital besides. I love it.
Yeah.
Big fan. All right. So much more personal question. What do you do to unwind? How does Sam unplug?
Great question. As you know, in these types of things, we can end up working like 24 hours a day because it's just becomes our life, right? I love spending time with my kids, particularly my 4-year-old who just turned 5 this weekend. So he and I will be out swimming because that's his favorite thing to do, or chasing chickens on our little farm, or something.
Love it, man. That's good stuff. There's an innocence and a purity to that kind of fun, man. Can't beat it.
He's not thinking about real estate, which is good.
I'm assuming that'll change with time. Eventually,
I'm sure it will.
It's the nature of things, man, and that's good. It's good. Get them working, man. Get them appreciating what they have and what you built.
Yeah,
the sooner the better. It's always good for them. My dad did that with me when I was 9. Started put me to work, and I'm super grateful. Honestly, people, you were 9. You know what? I learned to appreciate what a hard day's work was real quick in a hurry. So that's the thing. But Sam, if folks wanted to find you, if they want to see more about what you do and they're interested, where would they go?
Yeah, so they can find us on our website, wildmountaincapital.com, and or they can reach out to me personally, sam@wildmountaincapital.com. We love talking to people about what we do and what's different about us. We also are always happy to work with other partners. And then, I've even started a coaching program because I've been through all these crazy hard knocks, and I would love to help others not go through those same hard knocks, and be a little bit more smooth and quick to profitability than we were. So
avoid the pitfalls, take some advice. Yeah, and I'm a fan. I coach as well, and I hear you. There's just so many mistakes that can be avoided if you just simply know landmine to your left.
Yeah. I wish I had a mentor when I started this thing because
it's hard to do it the other way. It really is.
So hard. Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much for your time, brother. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for being on, man.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate it.